Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we're back with another episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on this episode we will discuss a criminal alliance with the Narco Lords. We will discuss their strengths, their weaknesses, their fighters, the playstyle, as well as provide critical information that you can use in your campaign. So that being said, let's go and talk about making a criminal alliance with the Narco Lords. So first of all, let's go and talk about what kind of positive impacts you can expect on your campaign play when you make a criminal alliance with Narco Lords, or with any alliance for that matter. First of all, every single alliance comes with a special rule known as a band apart. What this does, it gives you all the benefits and none of the negatives of taking extra fighters on a battlefield. At the same time, each of these different alliances provide entourages of fighters that you can use to have bodyguards, and these bodyguards help keep the leader of a criminal alliance from harm, which makes them pretty good for getting things done on the battlefield as well, and also maintaining a good relationship with your criminal alliance. At the same time, it's a good way to balance out numbers in the scenarios. These fighter entourages do not take up any crew slots, so bringing more fighters with better experience, with better equipment, and with additional skills without impacting your starting size for your crews is always a beneficial thing. Now, aside from the positive impact that a alliance will make, you also have some negative impacts on campaign play. And one of the biggest negative impacts that you have, especially when it comes to criminal alliances, is that you must be an outlaw gang in order to make an alliance with criminal organizations. So if you're a law-abiding gang, for example, such as like enforcers, for example, you can't make any outlaw alliances with criminals. Or on the flip side, let's pretend you're a law-abiding gang, and let's say you do have that campaign mechanic going on in your campaign, you can't make those alliances. Now, of course, you could easily get yourself an outlaw status in order to make these alliances. That part's easy enough. But for those of the gangs who aren't able to do so, I do have to give you some bad news. That's always going to be the way it's going to be. However, if you are a gang that does have outlaw status and you can never remove that outlaw status, this could actually really help you out. At the same time, your alliance can easily be broken with guard duty ties as well as drawbacks. Guard duty limits the type of scenarios that you can play, and each of these organizations have some kind of scenario that you must play if you fail a roll or whatever the situation may be. At the same time, you also have ties. These are things that cut into your resources, whether they be money, your fighters, territories, whatever the case may be. And lastly, some of the drawbacks could actually have some serious implications for your gangs. Either they'll delete your fighters or cause permanent injuries, or whatever the case may be. So whenever you make an alliance of any sort, regardless of what kind it is, always take a look at what the positive and negative drawbacks as well as positive rewards you get from making that alliance, and figure out which one is more important to you, and of course, act accordingly. So the first thing we're going to take a look at when it comes to Narco Lords, we're going to take a look at what I like to call tactical assets and strategic assets that this alliance brings to your gang. Tactical assets are game mechanics that affect individuals or combat on the actual battlefield. So these are things you'll be seeing every single time you throw down on the tabletop, rolling dice, playing the game of Necromunda. Meanwhile, strategic assets are game mechanics that either impact a gang during the course of a campaign. So things that affect you during the pre-battle sequence or the post-battle sequence or the campaign at large, whether it's getting additional territories, resources, income, whatever the case may be. Now, when it comes to the Narco Lords, the Narco Lords actually have a mediocre tactical asset. And the reason why is because of the Narco Scum. Basically, you get D3 plus 2 Hive Scum that you get to equip any way you want to and bring them into your list. Now, granted, it may actually sound kind of vanilla, because it actually is. You don't get some of the cooler esoteric style alliances you get from other alliances with their fighters. It's pretty vanilla, all things considered. At the same time, the Narco Lords are also a mediocre strategic asset with their abundant supply special rules for purchasing chems. Aside from purchasing chems for your gang, they're not really going to help you out all that much in terms of strategic assets as well. So that's the reason why I would kind of consider them both mediocre, both strategic as well as their tactical assets. Now, when it comes to the benefits of making an alliance with the Narco Lords, the first one you get is what's known as abundant supply, which pretty much means you get a -2 on the rarity of chems, which is pretty good, especially if you're using combat drugs and other buffs for your gangs. So for example, if you're playing like a House Goliath gang or House Escher gang, this could really help you out, because chems are some of the game mechanics that allow the Goliaths and the Escher to do what they do best. So because of that, if you do have a criminal alliance with these guys and you want to use those toxins, those poisons, use those performance-enhancing combat drugs, slug stashes, etc. This would be a nice way to help you guys out with that, because you could be able to get these pretty easily from the training post for your gang. And that's one of the major reasons why you want to make an alliance with these guys. And the other reason why you want to make an alliance with them is because of the Narco Scum. Like I said before, you get D3 plus 2 Hive Scum that you could bring into your gang for free, but we'll talk about that entourage here in a little bit. Now, of course, there are some drawbacks with this group. One of the big things, of course, is courier work. Courier work falls into that wonky guard duty thing that we were talking about earlier with the negatives. What ends up happening is that sometimes when you roll a d6, if you fail this d6 roll, you end up working either the downtown dust up, the gas harvest, or hit scenarios in those situations. So you'll be forced to play those kind of scenarios instead of the normal scenario that you want to play. Now, gas harvest is pretty good for generating income. However, there's a lot of dangers involved with that scenario, and the fact that you have the risk of actually having to do one of these scenarios instead of a scenario of your choice, it could be kind of a problem. At the same time, a second drawback that you have with this alliance is what's going on as payment due, which means that you must pay D3 time site credits after every single battle to this criminal alliance. It's annoying, and it's not all that bad, all things considered, because yeah, it kind of, you do have to pay up to 30 credits in some cases. But compared to other drawbacks from other alliances, like for example the Psi Syndica, for example, it's actually a very mild drawback, all things considered. So now that we're done talking about the drawbacks, let's go and talk about the Narco Scum. Now, when it comes to your Narco Scum, it's the least impressive of all the criminal entourages you get from any of your criminal alliances. Pretty much what ends up happening is you get D3 plus 2 Hive Scum whenever you go to battle. And at the same time, you also get to purchase 60 credits worth of free equipment and weapons per Hive Scum, which is kind of nice. Now, it's mediocre in the sense because Hive Scum aren't exactly all that impressive by themselves. However, though, there are some positives to having these guys. First of all, you can fill the gaps of your gang. If you need shooters, for example, you can equip these Hive Scum with long-range shooting, with auto guns, last guns, and things of that nature. If you need more close combat quarter fighters for your gang, you can equip these guys, of course, with that. You can give them swords, chain swords, pistols, all kinds of different things as well, in order to equip them that way as well. Not to mention, you don't need to roll a reputation test for these fighters because you get them automatically. So the nice thing about that is that if you're one of those gangs that have like a really hard time fielding numbers, let's say for example, like in a previous scenario, it took a lot of casualties, a lot of your guys went to recovery, so you don't have that many fighters in your gang. This would be a nice way to balance those out because you can get more boots on the ground as well. At the same time, you could also use these Narco Scum as human shields. You could use them to protect your more valuable fighters from harm, because in most cases, as the rule states in Necromunda, you have to shoot the nearest target for you unless you have some kind of skill or ability that lets you get around that game mechanic. So because of that, by using these Narco Scum as human shields, you can keep a lot of your fighters alive. And the best part about it is that they die, no big deal, because you can always get more of them. So it's not that big of a problem. And that's one nice thing about actually having Narco Scum. It's a good way to get more boots on the ground and to keep your guys going and lasting longer in combat. So in conclusion, the Narco Lords, in my opinion, are the most mediocre of all the criminal alliances. Now, while their strategic asset is helpful for Chems, it's a benefit that's too specific, unfortunately. And if you're a gang that doesn't do anything with Chems, it's not really going to help you out all that much in terms of strategy. Now, their tactical asset, while flexible and helpful, it could be kind of better. Like I said before, you only get D3 plus 2 Hive Scum, and anybody can get Hive Scum for a gang, so because of that, it may not be all that impressive. But either way, if you're needing a criminal alliance of any sort, this could really help you out, especially if you need a boost in your numbers of fighters. Having that additional D3 plus 2 Hive Scum showing up, you're always going to have at least 3 of these guys pop up in a battle, which will always be nice. Even better if you can get all 5. So that's always a good thing, having more bodies on the ground, regardless of what the situation is. It's just, I wish it could have been better, but, you know, them's the breaks at this point. So there you guys have it. This is our overall impression of making a criminal alliance with the Narco Lords. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest Hive news related to our channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.